Welcome to Mana's Seal YouTube channel. The previous video link is on the description box or on the top right card. Volume 12. The Paladin of the Holy Kingdom. Nia heard many weak breathing sounds from inside, and her nose picked up the scent of blood. She gripped her bow tightly, thinking to squeeze between the Sorcerer King and the door, but the Sorcerer King stopped her with his hand. "It meant don't come here." Ms. Baraja. The people using this room were not demi-humans, but demons. The reason why I say that is because this paper contains details on the experiments the demons were performing. The demons' experiments. Even without further explanation, she was sure that these experiments were not decent or proper by any means. Yes. They seemed to have done things like chopping arms off and then reattaching them to other creatures, or cutting open the subject's abdomens and exchanging the internal organs within. They started with blood relatives as a control group, and they branched out to combinations of humans and other life forms, not just demi-humans, but animals too, and then they healed them with magic to see what changes occurred. What dreadful experiments. Especially that blood relatives and body swapping stuff. How could any sane person think of such things? Alright. After conducting these experiments, it's natural that they'd want their test subjects to live. In particular, they want to keep them alive as long as possible until they find out why they die. Saying so, the Sorcerer King turned around, his back to the door. Then, he indicated the door behind him, over his shoulder with his thumb. For some reason, Nia knew what was coming next. Some of those test subjects are in there. They're still alive despite having their bellies cut open. She had anticipated this, but the cruel reality still dyed Nia's mind stark white for an instant. After that, she burned with hatred for the demons who had conducted such inhumane experiments. Ms. Baraja. Get the priests right away. Fetch Captain Custodio too. Hurry. Understood. There was no need to question the reason why they had to be called over. Nia ran with all her might. In the corner of her mind, she heard a voice ask, "Is it really all right to leave His Majesty here by himself?" But this was an order from a powerful man who was both trustworthy and wise. There was no need to worry. He would not be wrong. The voice vanished in an instant. The priests opened the door and entered the room. The way their shoulders trembled for an instant illustrated the hideous conditions inside the cells better than words ever could. In front of her, the Sorcerer King showed the paper to Remedios and Gustavo. "Have a look at this. This paper contains the names of the people in there and what happened to them. In addition, there are other papers with similar things written on them, or perhaps other things Jaldabaoth plans, for instance. I'm not too sure about that. Can you understand what's written on this paper?" Remedios looked at the paper and wrinkled her brows, then immediately handed it to Gustavo. Gustavo shook his head too. "I have no idea. But you understand it, don't you, Your Majesty?" "Ah, yes, by using the power of this magic item. However, that item drains a tremendous amount of mana. That mana must be conserved for the sake of doing battle with Jaldabaoth. And what I want to know is, do any of you know anyone who can read these characters? Anyone who might have the chance of understanding, it will do." "No, I have no leads at all." "Well, I feel there might be someone like them among the southern nobles. I think the possibility of that is very low." "I see, then how will you deal with this?" "On my part, I would hope you would put more effort into trying to decipher their script." "Can we not borrow Your Majesty's magic item?" "I refuse. This is a treasure of my nation. It is just as how you would not easily loan out the holy sword, your waste. And to magic casters like myself, magic items like these are more valuable than swords." Remedios and Gustavo looked at each other once more. "I understand. Then let us work hard together. Also, we have a new problem. It would seem there are orc captives. How shall they be dealt with?" It would seem the orcs had not attacked the Holy Kingdom out of their own will, but they were brought over by Jaldabaoth. They had not yielded any useful information when questioned, and the Paladin Order was at a loss as to how to deal with them. I understand. Can you tell me where they are? Could you leave them to me?" "Yes. Thank you for your trouble." Gustavo supplied a rough location. Since the city was not very big, they would probably not get lost. After sketching a rough map in her mind, the cell door opened and an utterly exhausted-looking priest showed up. "Oh. What happened? What about the condition of the people inside?" "We started by using healing magic on the survivors. This is the first time we've tried to heal the subjects of such inhumane experiments, so we'll stay here and observe them. If they're fine, we'll move them outside. At least, that's what I think." "I see. Then, we'll send some paladins and militiamen over to help you move these people out." "Understood, Captain Custodio. Then, I'll take my leave, Your Majesty." The priest opened the door again and went back into the cell. After watching the priest leave and concluding that there was nothing left to do, the four of them each went to their respective destinations. Naturally, the Sorcerer King and Nia parted ways with the other two and headed for the location of the orcs. That said, since there are demons around, it would be good if we had someone who could see the original forms of shapeshifters, the Sorcerer King said as he walked. While they could not verify the presence of demons in this city, the piece of paper with demonic characters on it suggested the possibility that there might be demons about, or that there might have been demons here recently. Can demons transform themselves? Ah, demons like that do exist. They can shapeshift into men, women, or even animals. I see. Someone with the ability to see through shapeshifting or a similar talent. My deepest apologies. I have not heard of anyone with these abilities. Ah, no, I've heard legends about such things. I remember reading about them in a book. However, if you ask me if there were any of them around now, it seems I would be best served discussing this matter again with Captain Custodio, then. Is shapeshifting a form of illusion? I'm more familiar with petty tricks like illusions. For starters, shapeshifting is vastly different from illusions, but explaining that will take a long time, so I'll skip it for now. However, looking down on illusions is very dangerous, you know. Illusions are a fearsome type of spell that becomes scarier the more skilled the caster is. Also, there are those illusionists who aren't satisfied with a surface understanding and choose to specialize along that path. So it's when they specialize. Ah, yes. For example, there are spells like Perfect Illusion which can defy all 5 senses. And beyond that, there are those who have refined their illusions to the utmost limit, who can use a certain skill once every few days to deceive the world itself. An illusion that could deceive a world was beyond her capacity to imagine. Ah, how exactly does that worldly illusion work? From what I know, it's a spell that lets you rewrite any aspect of the world, I think. Well, simply put, using an illusion like that could even bring the dead back to life. You're talking about an illusion, right? Oh yes. An illusion which tricks the world, the ultimate secret of illusions. By deceiving the world itself, an illusion can be made real. All she could think was wow, even if one said that the pinnacle of illusion could do such a thing, it was so incredible that she did not quite understand what he was saying. So, does nobody manage the inborn talents of this country? No, I've never heard of it before. Does the Sorcerer's Kingdom do such things? My country does not have that practice either. I plan to do so in the future, but that will require considerable effort. It might end up being a matter of 10 or more years in the future. The Sorcerer King had already envisioned the events of the next 10 years in his mind. This was the difference between a king and a commoner. In other words, a tremendous difference. The orcs were held in a building whose windows were boarded up from the outside. This was quite a big structure, probably the second or third largest in this city. There were many paladins gathered at the entrance. It would seem they were on guard against what was inside. After seeing the Sorcerer King approach, the paladins genuflected before him to express their respect. I've heard from Captain Custodio that the orcs are in this building. May I enter? Yes. Of course you may, your majesty. Then you should go from this place and return to what you should be doing. The paladins looked up. But the captain ordered us to be stationed here. We may not leave our posts. Did she now? Then I take back my previous words. Saying so, the Sorcerer King passed between the paladins and pushed open the door. Naturally, Nia was following him. There was a sour odor in the air which seared Nia's nose. This was not poison gas, but the smell reminded Nia of when she had once followed a paladin to a jail. In addition, there were other smells mixed into it, smells that made her want to throw up. This is. When she heard the captain mention it earlier, she had thought about why the orcs had been specially brought along. Nia knew that she was about to learn the truth, but at the same time she deployed the wings of her imagination. If this was not just a problem that the orcs faced, if there was a grand alliance against Jeldabaoth, would the Demihumans who wanted to fight back against him rally to their banner? As Nia thought all this, the Sorcerer King kept pushing doors open as he advanced. One could say that, letting the Sorcerer King go first was a matter of fact now. They crossed rooms and passed through corridors. Just by walking, she realized that this place was filthier than a jail. The place was filthy with blood, vomit, and other detritus. The conditions here were so terrible that there was no way to imagine what had happened here. Orcs were demihumans around the height of a man, with porcine facial features. They were said to be species that loved cleanliness. They would not be happy to live in such a place. Nia watched the hem of the Sorcerer King's cloak. While she was worried about how his magnificent garments might be stained, she could not tell him to wait outside either. After all, nobody could possibly speak for the wise Sorcerer King. Soon, Nia's keen senses picked up traces of many creatures breathing and moving ahead of them. There was also what sounded like crying children and mothers trying to comfort them. Orcs. Not humans. Nia was confused. She had never considered the possibility that orcs might have families and raise children. The orcs who came to the Holy Kingdom were invaders. They were hated enemies. Therefore, she had stopped thinking about them in any other sense. As Nia sank into confusion, the Sorcerer King opened the door. The vile odor intensified, and there were several screams. The undead. It's a skeleton. Why? Those bastard humans. They sold us to the undead. They're actually using the undead. Those filthy humans. Mama. Save me. My boy. The Sorcerer King stopped at the entrance. As expected, even the Sorcerer King was puzzled by this. Ahem. Silence. After the Sorcerer King bellowed his order, the noisy room fell silent. Of course, that was only for a moment. It immediately filled back up with a racket that was several times louder than before. They were wailing about roughly the same things. No, there seemed to be more voices bemoaning their fate and begging for mercy for their children, regardless of what happened to themselves. Ha. The Sorcerer King sighed, as though he were tired. After that he slammed on the door. His bony white hands possessed incredible power, and the door bounced away, swinging out until it struck the wall with an incredible sound. The demihumans fell silent immediately. Shut up. The next one of you who speaks without permission had better be ready to die. The Sorcerer King took a step into a room that seemed to have been frozen in silence, with some parents trying desperately to cover their children's mouths, and the demihumans all retreated from him. I did not come here to kill you. On the contrary, I am here to save you. Usually, Nia the human would have a lot of difficulty trying to read the face of a demihuman, such as an orc. However, just this once, Nia was absolutely confident in herself.